Hi, welcome to my garden studio. It's a beautiful June day here in Bristol. I'm going to be working today on some little pieces that I did completely, well, I played around basically. I used a couple of different plates, I collaged in, I monoprinted in, and I've kind of ended up with these little abstract pieces, which are really nice, but I think I can add a little bit more to them in the studio by hand. If you'd like to see any more of these videos, obviously subscribe and then you'll get notified whenever I put one up. You can see very little videos on my Instagram feed as well. I'm at Ruth Ander Prints on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you want to know lots more information, you can go to my website, that's ruthander.co.uk. And you can sign up for my mailing list there if you want to. You can read my blog and all sorts of wonderful things. So these are the little pieces I'm going to be working on today. They're actually from what I call a play session at Spike Print Studio. So what I did was I cut up a photopolymer etching plate into smaller pieces. It was really big. It was about A2, I think. I didn't want to print like that anymore, so I've cut it into lots of little bits. So this kind of subtle background area on these is that plate. And then I printed over with a dry point plate. So I've got some dry point lines here as well. And that's dry point as well, that one. Collaged in some monoprint, a bit of just like monoprint with a roller there as well before I put it through the press. So just had a really fun time playing around. And I've got these kind of rather abstract pieces now that I just like to, I don't know, I guess bring into focus a little bit more. I'd like to add some lights, especially on this one. So this is the palette that I've mixed this morning. I've got some really light kind of aqua greens here, which I'm going to try and use to lighten up the picture. I might even use some of these kind of acidy, ochre-y, greeny yellows as well, but I'm going to see how I go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just roll out some of this kind of very light aqua green. I always go lighter than I think because often the actual paint itself will, once it's printed, seems darker. So always go lighter rather than darker, I would. And I've actually put a bit too much on there. So what I'm going to be doing is drawing into the back of these to create some lines. And you really don't need much ink for that, because otherwise it sort of splurges when you press down, essentially apply pressure to the back of your paper. You're going to splurge it everywhere over bits of the print that you don't want the ink on and all that kind of thing, which we don't want. And in fact, I'm going to get a little bit of scrap paper here and take some of that ink off, just to be on the safe side. So I've just got a bit of tissue there. I'm just going to gently put that over. So less is more. If that doesn't come out well enough, fine, I can add it again. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to essentially exaggerate the horizon a little bit more here and add a light line if I can. So I'm just going to place it over. I've already, by the way, just added a pencil line just there on the back. I held the picture up to the light so I could see where I was drawing, and I drew a line on the back so that I know where I'm going to do my line. Right, I'm going to try and do this by hand, which is possibly not a great idea, but let's have a go. I've just got a knife here, the end of a knife, but you could use the end of a pencil, end of a spoon, anything really that's going to push down. Okay, that was not such a great idea to do it by hand because it's quite a sort of buckled piece of paper and it was quite difficult. So this line is not straight. So it has come out though, which is good. So what I'm going to do is get my ruler here and just place that on the line where I want it, and I'm going to do that again. Okay, it's a lot straighter and it's a lot thicker. And it has splurged a little bit down here, but I don't mind that. It actually looks quite nice. I think it sort of adds to it. So I'm going to do a similar thing on the next one here, this one. Just going to roll that ink out a little bit more just to get a bit more on it. Okay, and I've also done a line on the back of this. Now, going on what's just happened, I think I'm going to use my ruler again. Okay, that's quite a thick line, and it has splodged a bit, as I call it, here as well. I think what I'd like to do, and perhaps I'll do that with this third one here, is create a thinner line. Now I can do that with this particular knife by using the sharp end of the knife. So I'm going to have a go at that. That will create a much thinner line, I think, I hope. Yeah, so thin that you can hardly see it actually, but it is there. It has added a little something. I'm actually going to see if I can do a thinner line over the top of this one here again. It might show, we shall see. Yeah, it's actually taken a little bit of the ink off that I originally put on, creating a little bit of a line, so that's quite nice actually. Okay, so with this one you can hardly see the horizon line here, but what I'm going to do is use that same ink to just do a little bit of line work down here in the dark area to lighten that up a bit. So again, I'm going to just, I haven't added any more ink, I'm just using the roller again just to spread out that ink. We really don't need much for this, and if we need a bit more we can add a bit more. Okay, so I kind of vaguely know what I want to do here. I'm going to use the sharp end of the knife again, so I get thin lines to start with. Kind of want to do swirls here. See if that's come out. Yeah, very subtly actually. These lighter lines here are what's happened. And I think actually it hasn't come out at the top there because, yeah, I wasn't actually pressing on where the ink was. So if I move my piece of paper down a little bit further, try that again. But I like the width of the lines, or you know, the thinness. Okay, got a bit more movement there. And I like that. I think that colour goes really well with the red. I think I'm actually going to do the same with this one here. Now I am just going to add a tiny bit more ink here, I think. Not much. I just put a bit there. And just spread that out with the roller. So we are just using pressure on the back of the paper to get things here. So we don't have to put masses of ink on where we're just sort of getting blocks of colour. We're pressing, you know, relatively hard here with an implement. I think I might do some straight lines here. Kind of echo what's already there. Okay, it's quite subtle, but it's bringing highlights, bringing lightness down to the bottom area here. And it's echoing some of the lines that were already there from the dry point plate that I used. So now I'm just going to add a little bit more to this one here. I really like, I like the blue, but I just want a little touch of it along the horizon here. And I want to add some sort of more rain marks here. So I'm going to use a roller for that. I'm just going to roll some grey onto the picture as is. So I'm just going to roll a bit out onto this roller. And this is oil paint that I'm using, without any medium, just oil paint. kind of a hangover from when I used to just monoprint straight onto tissue paper. But I actually really love the colour, so I've continued to use it. Okay, so I'm going to have to be careful here not to roll over all of the blue, because I really like the blue. I just want a touch of it. Now that's coming out really nicely, making some rather rain-like marks, kind of without me trying really there. So I'm liking that. Okay, I'm going to make this part a bit darker. Yeah, it's difficult to know where to stop at this point. So you've got the kind of gradations there where the roller's gone over once or twice, or you know, so it's quite darker where I've rolled over several times. But I don't want to lose this lovely little bit here, which is actually the photopolymer plate, and I don't want to lose this lovely sort of gradation here and the blue. So I might actually just stop right there. Obviously you can see I've gone over the edges here, but what I like to what I like to do when I've finished is actually crop the picture right down if I can, so that these won't show, and it will just kind of look more like an object really when it's mounted up. And so here these pieces are at the end of the session. I would say these are midpoint really. They still need a fair amount of work, but I feel like what I've put on has really lightened them up and got them going and got them moving.